Paul, you're good, man. It happens.
This is just a recreation of Star Citizen 4.5. That's all this has been. For those of you who are experiencing this live, we're
And
now
now I
on
have
we're on,
echo.
we're now on hot fix number 4. And if it doesn't work on your end, it's your fault. That's I'm going with Star Citizen CIG's method of problem.
Works on our machine.
God damn. So welcome to the Captain's Table podcast. This is a podcast I do for talk about Star Citizen, Lord News, and more. My name is Paul Berserker One, Batman Shelley, your facilitator, your moderator here on the Captain's Table podcast. This is episode 48. 48. Let's make sure everything is. Your stream issues are not our fault. I'm going to blame CIG for this one. It's okay. I want to make sure that it's working on this end. Hold on, let me double check something real quick.
Hey, I said nothing but the obvious truth.
And it doesn't look like the YouTube. I'm just gonna keep going. The YouTube chat's not coming through. All right.
Don't forget to activate the question bot.
Yes, thank you. Because I will forget to do that. All right. So, apply. There we go. Perfect. All right. So, welcome to the end of the year episode for the Captain's Table. This is the end of our 9th year. Like I said, there's 52 weeks in a year. And we've done 48 episodes. I think we've technically done 47 episodes because one of the episodes was accidentally doing 2 episodes at once because Execute doesn't know how to stop talking. So we ended up doing 2 episodes in one setting, and then did it stuff. So. Welcome to the Captain's Table podcast. I'm gonna just get started with introducing folks, and then we'll get to the actual topic. Starting again with Night Cobb. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you?
Damn, I gotta do it again. The last one was a straight ramble. Maybe I'll be better off this time. All right, so I'm Night Cobb. Once upon a time ago, rookie streamer and a little bit of YouTube content. Currently on hold while I'm back on sea duty. Which I'm the engineering department master chief on board a submarine, so I contribute to Armchair Admirals and Generals, which was a YouTube podcast created by Tree0311, so maybe you guys might know him, where he and I and Atira Kell used to share our opinions and stuff like that on all things related to Star Citizen and our military experience and how that related to it. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, those videos still very much exist. Please go check them out. We did this whole one on engineering, so if you want to check that one out, it's still very valid in my opinion.
From your opinion, as somebody who works on a submarine, who's to have to deal with in engineering, so it's very cool.
Yeah. And on a submarine, all the damage control stuff, like firefighting and stuff like that, that's everybody's problem. So just like Star Citizen, it's actually very similar in that regard. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to leave it there. So I don't ramble again. On to the next guy.
All right. Let's go on with Axis. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you?
7, I am a Legionnaire of the Lunar Wolves, a organization that's UE affiliated. I am mostly on YouTube and Twitch under my Axis 0096 name. Lowercase on Twitch, uppercase on YouTube, unfortunately.
I think it works the same way. I don't think the case necessarily matters. It might, but I don't think it does. So
yeah, I don't think it does. It used to, but it doesn't anymore. I don't think it does. But yeah, primarily I'm a mining person, explorer. I'm starting to dabble more into the PvP, PvE with my org, but definitely not alone anymore. Bunker diving's gotten very dangerous.
Well, whatever you do, don't go to a contested zone, because if you do, Cobb will kill you.
Yes, he will.
Because they're Cobb zones. That's where he lives.
Technically, a
Not so
bullet
not so
sponge.
much anymore, but yeah, I'm gonna get back to it at some point. They added a couple ships into the pool, so I'm kind of like interested to go back now.
I wonder if they'll actually add like new wings to those zones because that's such an easy thing to just update with like new paths. Just like this door is now open, you can go over here now. This feels like an easy win to just constantly update to create like these
Hell yeah.
winding pathways. So
ASD also needs some expansions,
Oh, yeah.
like a medical experimental vehicles lab or
something. Yeah.
science like living quarters.
That's right. There's no living quarters you find. I don't think there is. It's just all experimental labs.
Residential housing. There
Yeah.
we go. Residential housing. That's it.
And last but certainly not least, we've got, and I'm going to flip you there, Griff, so that you're staring at us, not the other side. Hold on. Transform. There we go. Transform and roll out. Mr. Griff Gaming RPG, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you?
That's weird because on my screen now I'm reversed.
Yeah, it looks like you're. I mean, did I screw that up? I'm probably screwed.
Yeah, I was right the first time.
Hold on,
my
hold on.
emblem was on my left side. Now it's on my right
There
side.
we go. There we
It's
go.
reversed.
There we go.
It's okay. There we go.
Sorry, he's got me
hi.
reversed too. He's got me like angled out away from the rest of it, so I'm
Let's
not like
fix that.
centered in on you guys.
Oh, you've got a nice
Yeah.
sunrise behind you, though.
I do. Well, yeah. I think it'll just switch the side though.
Hold on. I got it.
You got it.
And boom. There we go. Now he's looking at us with a nice.
There you go.
That's
There
a
we go.
postcard.
See?
Awesome.
That's a
Yeah,
postcard.
yeah.
Right there.
There you go. I'm Griffin Gaming RPG. I'm one of the producers with the Soul Citizens. We stream inspired by people like Paul Shelley and many others that have come before us. And we're going into March will be our 6th year. So we're still chasing you. We'll never catch up, but we're still chasing you, Paul. And as always, happy to be here, especially end of the year. Good to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes, and I'm now. So apparently, I lost an I in your name. Professional streamer, chat. Professional streamer. It's okay. I'm working off, like I said, I'm working off the CIG standards for end of the year releases. So, all right. I do want to thank all these folks for coming on because originally I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do a captain's table. And Nightcop was just like, I can come on if you want one. If you want someone to come on, I'm like, well, Nightcop's willing to go. Is anybody else? And Axe is like, I'll go. And Griff was like, I'll go. And it's like, all right. Let's talk about the end of the year because that was the original plan, was to talk about the end of the year, the year of 2025 in general, what it was like throughout the year, and then what it might be like next year. So we'll start off with the very beginning of the year, like the 4-0 January-ish to around ending around Invictus. What was it like in Star Citizen 2025? Just your experience, what you remember, what you think was the highs and lows. I'll start with you there, Griffin, on that.
Oh, well, I mean, there was obviously a lot of anticipation for 4-0. For those of us the dinosaurs who were around when we went to 3-0, it was kind of the big step, right? The big leap, not just in technology, but just the game itself. And coming out of a lot of the energy, both energy, hype, and everything that came along with Pyro, and coming off the holidays, which we're kind of in that same space right now, right? We're transitioning into another year. I think that there was a lot of excitement. There was also a bit of trepidation. I remember the conversation with Benoit and Disco at the beginning of the year, of the changes in the cadence this year, which felt, I think there's a lot of uncertainty, right? There was the whole cadence of that we're going to be putting out more material, but there was this emphasis of focusing on bug fixing, stability, the game's quality of life stepping up, and addressing issues that have been around for a long time. Some folks were very nervous because they also implied that we may not be receiving certain things gameplay wise at the same level going into this year. But lo and behold, amidst the patches that came out, the much more frequent cadence and patches, there was content and there was some new delivery of things. And so I think that some people sighed a bit of relief, there was still some issues in relation to, I think there were expectations of things that they felt CIG would respond to within the first quarter or even the first 6 months that they felt like, well, there wasn't a lot of progress. But then I watched a few people and listened to some developers who talked about the fact that we probably wouldn't start really feeling the effects of those changes until 6 to 9 months. And I think that that was when things started to move a little bit better. So, yeah, leading up to Invictus, leading up to that point, to me, it was just like it was an interesting time. Let's just say that. And I'm very curious to see in 2026 whether that cadence and that focus remains or whether or not they shift gears a little bit more. I'm hoping that they do remain in this cadence, to be honest with you, but we'll see.
All right. Axis, same question to you. What was the beginning of the year this year like to you? What do you remember about it?
A lot of people were negative, I guess, regarding, and I don't want to just say this harshly, they were overly hypocritically harsh on all the PvP events running. And I can understand why. I'm more of an industrial and cargo-ish kind of player. I don't really do a lot of combat, but when I do, but I like having variety. But there seemed to be a very large concentration of PvP stuff early in the year, and people were worried that there wouldn't be any variation. And of course, I can understand their hesitancy, you know what I mean, Paul?
Yeah.
In saying that, oh, CIG's going to completely forget industrial players. They haven't forgotten us.
That is true. That is a good point. That we did have that at the beginning of the year. A lot of people were like, why are we doing all these combat things? Because there was that heavy focus on combat at the beginning of the year with like, what was it? The Fight for Pyro, the
Align in Mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nightcob, same question for you. First beginning of the year from like January to like Invictus. What was your vibes from 2025?
I'm gonna agree with Griffin on a lot of his initial points, but for me, like the vibe really picked up with the whole. They were successful. I got it. Like at the very beginning of the year, there was a little bit of doubt, like, can they get this to actually work at scale with server meshing and all that kind of stuff. But man, when they solved it early in the year, and all of a sudden it's like stable servers, 600 people. Like you're able to transition between systems pretty easily and stuff like that, and you're not. I mean, you're getting a few bugs like and it still exists. The classic, like I start a quantum jump, but I hit a server boundary, and every once in a while it kicks it, and it kicks you out of quantum. But like for the most part, man, I mean, I thought it was just like proof of concept. Pyro works, server meshing works. Like hype is real. And then Paul, just kind of, we were talking about it right before the show.
Yeah.
But man, the NPCs started talking to each other on a regular basis. And, at first it was a little bit of a mess, they might say some weird stuff, but it didn't matter. All of a sudden, the universe didn't feel like a sterile, like, zone of mutes, And not only that, but coupled with the increased server pop, man, all of a sudden the game started to feel really alive. I thought the beginning of the year was big hype.
Oh, yeah.
In a lot of ways. And honestly, it's hype that they probably could have carried on. Sorry, Ghost 1800
Yes.
got me there with a quote. From
Oh
the
no,
NPC.
they got your cousin. Suppression fire. Suppressing fire. Suppressing fire. They got your cousin.
It is definitely one of my favorite wild lines out of an NPC.
Need to steal that for a soundbite.
Yeah.
I really do.
But it's just the beginning of the year, major hype. And do we go all the way through Invictus, or is that we call that like the second?
I call
quarter
that
of
for
year?
the beginning of the second half is Invictus. We'll do
Beginning
Invictus.
of the second half. Okay, I'll wait till.
Because I feel like you can section the year off into like January to Invictus to the beginning of CitizenCon, and then CitizenCon to the end of the year. I feel like those are like three different distinct sections of the year. Chat is also because we technically still have the Pubathon stuff up. For some reason, it's not going up. I don't know what's going on. But chat has decided that they're going to shower me with a level 9 hype
Wow.
train,
Level 10 now.
level 10 type train.
Oh, man.
Look at that. Nice.
20
20 subs. Wow.
Rock
dude.
on, brother.
Escape's been
Happy
dropping like
holidays.
20 subs this entire time.
Yeah.
Escape, save some for ships, brother. Come on. Come on.
Oh gosh.
Very nice.
75 tier 1 and 1 tier 3. Yeah. It doesn't happen too often where I have to I usually try to, for those of you listening on the audio podcast or watching this on the YouTube after the fact, or even watching YouTube live, I try not to react to all of the donations or anything else like that happens. It doesn't happen too often, but every so often chat's just we're going to do legitimately record breaking amounts of donations and subs and stuff like that. And it's I don't know why you people scare me sometimes. Then again, you also buy $1,000 to base ships, so I guess $100 here and there to help a teacher out is not to say Jesus.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
He
y'all.
won't say it, guys, but thank you.
No,
Thank you.
I will say it. Thank you.
I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing because you were talking all around it. He's saying thanks. He's saying thanks.
I'm also trying to let people know over the fact of if I'm losing my mind, that's why. I also know that Twitch is currently doing a 35% off thing where if you do 5 or more gift subs, it's 35% off. So
Yeah.
Can I just say something about this whole year? When we started this year, we had, I think people forget Pyro technically wasn't playable. It's similar to the state of the game right now until January. So technically, did we have 2 solar systems? No. That were playable. Not really. Now we're approaching 3. We've gone from a box to a much larger room. The room's expanding.
Yeah,
The
there's just
verse
not a lot
is
of
getting
furniture.
larger. Yeah.
That's the problem.
The verse is stretching and groaning. You know what I mean, Paul?
Yeah.
And I think server meshing's doing pretty good. I made a jump in this to Nix from Stanton today with the servers in the state they're in and still successfully made the jump. I think we can establish, even in the crap condition the servers are in, and I'm sorry to be over talking people, but it's just, I think the servers are probably in certain areas better than they've been in a long time. We can't hear you, Paul.
I muted myself so I could fix some of the other stuff. But I think you're good. By the way, for interceding. But I think that I've been very frustrated with 4.5. If you haven't been able to tell me talking about 4.5, 4.5 has been one of the most frustrating experiences of the year for me, simply because of the you can log in. You can do anything in the game that you normally could, only sometimes you can't pull a ship out that you want. But as long as the ship is available and already called in the location you're at, then you can pull it out maybe. And then sometimes the missions work, sometimes they don't. And sometimes it's flawless for hours and then it's nothing. And it's one of the most, it's a frustrating experience because it's you can see the game, you can play the game doesn't lag really that much, or you're not dealing with a lot of desync, but you're dealing with inventory lag, you're dealing with all the other parts that are just and it's frustrating because Star Citizen over the holidays has usually been like this, and for me as a person who wants to see Star Citizen succeed, I can see that the holidays are a great time for CIG to put their best foot forward because people actually have time to play. And when you see that people try to play and they're like, this is broken, it's like the only time they'll get to play the entire year, and this is broken. It's that sucks. That's a feels bad moment, But I will say, given all of that, you could still log into the game and maybe get some of those things, whereas in the past, you were not able to do so at all. But that's where I'll start my section on like the end of the year, is that I think the 4.0 launch was one of the best worst launches we've had. 2.0, 2.6.4, I think it was. 3.0, 3.18, and then 4.0. Of those like big name patches that are coming out with new technology that everything breaks, 4.0 was the least disruptive, simply because they did that 3.2.4 and 4.0 running side by side over the holidays and then transition to 4.0. There's still some problems with the transition from 4.0 to 4.01, I think, when in January. But it meant that people could still play the game over the holidays. So you had a relatively stable patch over the holidays, which is the first time we had in a long time. And I really hoped that they were going to do stuff like that in the future, and they still haven't, but I'd love to have them to come back. But the beginning of the year was surprisingly stable. And CIG really came out the gate with lots of new things. The Align of Mind with Hathor, the new events, while they weren't great, and narratively they kind of stepped on a banana and smashed their face in when it came to the storytelling of early 4.0. At least they were trying to do something, whereas usually they don't try to.
They also created a powerful enemy in Dr. Yort.
Yeah. But overall, the gameplay was good. It seemed like the focus on stabilization was good. I think a lot of people forget that 4.0 was Deathloop was one of those things that would happen where a server would crash, then the server would try to recover, and then it would crash again because the same problems that caused it to crash would happen over and over again. So that loops were fixed. The focus, I felt like it was some good communication where hey, this is what we're planning on doing this year. These are the focuses. Do not expect features because we're still working on them, but we're going to be focusing more on this. A lot of people seem to mesh with that. A lot of the community liked that idea because after so many years of people being stop making the game and just fix the game, that seemed to get a lot of people on board. And then CIG started doing this insane release cadence where I think in the first half of the year, or the first third of the year, they only missed one month. I want to say it was April is they missed, but it was there was a patch in January, there was a patch in February, I think there was a patch in March, yeah, but there wasn't in April, but there was in May. So yeah, out of the first 5 months, the 4 of them had a patch. And I think there may have not been a June patch or something like that. There was one other month that didn't have a patch, but maybe it was February, but I don't think so because there was 10 patches this year. So yeah, that we've never seen a cadence like that. CIG's never done something like that in the past, where even a 0.0x patch was and almost all of them had a ship. So it was a new ship, new content for every one of those patches. So, yeah. And we're gonna reverse it back. Night Cobb, from Invictus to CitizenCon. So from the end of May to October, what was the general vibe about with Star Citizen? What was your experience with sort of middle half of the year, or middle third?
I think. Oh, so I'm going to split it into 2 parts, and I know because I got to talk about the whole part, but
okay,
it'll make sense in a second. First half of that, middle of the year, I think the vibe was pretty strong. But it was mixed. It was okay, Idris got released. That's a big landmark event. Finally, people that have paid for a backlog ship like that, so long ago, gets released to the game, fully realized interior, kind of a solid entry, but it was poisoned. And this was what really kind of really took a little bit out of the wind out of their sails for the middle of the year was, they did the whole Flight Blade thing, and that kind of just poisoned the well a little bit, ruined a little bit of the middle of the year. But it was on top of a bunch of good patch releases. Hathor was solid, really solid. And it didn't work really well right away, but it started working pretty well like early into the summer, so like May, June timeframe around Invictus. So there were some really good points. Lazarus was kind of a mixed bag. We actually, it's funny, I was playing with some lore people the other weekend, and unfortunately that event really highlights some poor game design. Talking about an event that really needs instancing, it only takes 1 or 2 people with persistence and a respawn to ruin that event for a group of 5 or 6. And that is the real shame of that event. You know, and so, it was like, ooh, so close, but yet still hitting these marks of design where it's like, come on, guys, we need you to get past this kind of stuff. But, maybe it is just that they're waiting for the tech of instancing and then that event will
Growing pain.
change. Yeah. So I thought it was promising. I think where they also lost on the second half of that middle, I think we all started to realize around June and July, it's like, hey, we haven't seen any of these EPTUs that you talked about. We gave you a little bit of a grace period for the first, third of the year, but where are the EPTUs with engineering that was supposedly like right on the heels of 4.0? So kind of like late summer, it kind of took a little bit of a downturn, and I don't really blame the community for reacting that way. It's kind of one of those things. It's like, yeah, we were supposed to get engineering, but instead we got, I think maybe toward the end of that, we got the first like Vulcan EPTU, and it was kind of one of those real lackluster like, wait, you want us to just get in and test the new graphics engine? Well, that'll be interesting for all of 10 minutes, and that's really what it was. So it's kind of one of those things like, it's getting to the latter half of the year. You're coming up on CitizenCon. We haven't seen a lot of the things that I don't want to say promised, but alluded to in the chairman's letter and stuff like that. And that's kind of what the second half of the year kind of hit that classic lull, but at the same time, introduced a lot of doubt. So, I don't know. I'd give the middle of the year far less than the beginning of the year, but it was mainly because got poisoned around Invictus, and then EPTUs didn't happen like they'd kind of wanted and or said that they would. And I think we all lost a little bit of not hope, but lost a little
Shine.
bit of hype. I said
little
hype
luster.
Again. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, a better word. Because I was using hype, and it was somewhat intentional earlier when you were on a
because he was every time you said
8 hype.
Every time you said hype, he would donate more. Yeah. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it because he does that. That's what he will do.
If I say hype again, guys, gift a sub. Every time I say hype, gift a sub.
Gosh, I'm gonna die. Axis, same question to you. The middle of the year, from say, from Invictus to CitizenCon. What was the vibes? What was your experience like?
Well, like Nightcob, I'm going to divide it into 2 parts. The first part being, I agree, and I will agree with Nightcob on one thing. There was kind of a poisoning of the well with
just one?
Some of the events, how they were designed. I had experiences with Lazarus too, with my group, and we didn't care for it much. ASD, a lot more positive. Still, things could be better, but they got better when they added the wings to it, more improvement and stuff. Yeah. But my second part was I wanted to say this earlier, is the lack of information from CIG. Starting in toward the second half of the year, we started having less and less actual information up till CitizenCon. I think there was actually 1 month where we went almost completely an entire month without Inside Star Citizen or some sort of correspondence. Paul, you can correct me. I could be wrong.
It might have been June. They said that there was 10 patches, and I know one of them was April that we didn't get a patch, and I think it was June we didn't get a patch as well, because we got a patch in July, and that July was the Onyx facility. Because July was the Onyx facility, and August was the Site B. That was also the resource rush. So, um, so yeah, and I think that may have been the month where we just didn't get anything because like they had a bunch of stuff for Invictus and then they just did nothing for
Yeah.
for June. So
And I understand that they were concentrating for CitizenCon. We'll talk about that obviously in the
Yeah.
next quadrant, but it kind of felt like people were feeling like CIG was purposely cutting down communication, and a lot of people didn't like that. Also, some of the
They never do.
and also some of the commentary issued toward the content creators wasn't especially friendly. But that's next part.
that was the
right,
next
Paul?
part. We'll talk a little bit about that. That's I don't want to get too much into that one because it's drama for the sake of drama at this point. But yeah, I get what you're talking about.
Did
Yeah.
I miss the drama?
We'll talk about it in the next one a little bit. It's just Jared.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jared was being Jared, and yeah, I was coming off
Oh,
of
when he threw shade. When
yeah.
he threw shade.
and
Yeah.
I said that's fuck you, dude. Like because I was like working off of barely any sleep doing content for Invictus, and it's like I was my brain was like all of my friends who do content because CIG releases content, and I was like that's shitty. It's not. It's also not why people do content. It's the people are mad because, as Axis was saying, people sometimes only consume content from CIG through ISC and SCL, and so if they don't get those, they don't get information for Star Citizen, and they're like, "Why? Where's this information?" So that was my. It was like a misreading, but I think it was just. And I know it was just Jared being Jared, but it was like, yeah. Well, that's
It did feel flippant.
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. I understand.
it felt just kind of like, come on, dude. It's like an intentional misreading of the criticism, rather than accepting that, yeah, understanding what's going on. All right, Griffin, your thoughts. Middle of the year between Invictus and CitizenCon, what was it like?
Yeah, I know Axis. I was just thinking about what he was saying about how it seemed like the information got kind of thin, and I think to that point, I think it probably felt more amplified because of the less frequent ISCs and SCLs. The community does come to rely on that, even though you have content creators who are putting out information, and content creators had to become creative when that information wasn't being put out as much. They had to start finding a little bit more ways to approach the discussions of Star Citizen. Unlike players who maybe are playing the game as their way of doing content, for those people who do shows like Paul's or mine or others, or Axis even, we had to start looking at other ways to still communicate and stay relevant with what was going on with game development and the community at the same time. So yeah, it was a period where it felt like information was less. And there was a part of me that appreciated it in the sense of, there's a group of people who feel like, yeah, tell us everything, just fix the game.
Mhm.
And then there's the other side of the group that says, well, they're fixing the game, but now you're not telling us anything, right? So it's kind of like this middle of the road sometimes with how information is disseminated. Um, there is still information in weekly newsletters. We started getting, I don't remember when we got the Squadron 42 thing after IAE, right? That's when we got that one, right? When we first got
Yeah.
that first
The
announcement.
first
Okay,
announcement
so
was like,
so that's too soon. So that's in the next. That's the next
well,
section.
it's
Okay.
the first ones came out in January. They were gonna do
No, but I mean that new one, that new thing that they just did
Yeah.
now, where
Yeah.
they've got that. Was that January?
It was January. They originally were going to do it every 2 months, and then it became every quarter because they couldn't get it every 2 months. Because it was like February when they released the. It wasn't January. It was February when they released the video on the music, where like they did the behind the scenes with Jeff. Why am I blanking on his last name? Zanelli, and
Yeah.
his like in his recording in the studio of the audio and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
So I mean, and of course that started leading into questions about, the future of 2026
Mhm.
for the launch for Squadron 42. Um, and then of course there was all the hype that led up to, will the Idris be released? If I'm not mistaken, that was a part of the period too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was
Was the Idris
released. It was released at Invictus. Yeah, so
Yeah, at Invictus, right? So that came out. There was something else that happened during that period leading up to SitCon. And of course, well, then there was SitCon itself, right? The whole SitCon Direct thing,
Mhm.
right? How people felt about that.
Oh,
Some people felt like, yay, you know, and then other people felt a little disappointed. Some people, obviously, people who enjoy the actual traveling to CitizenCon were impacted a little bit differently than maybe people who were used to being able to sit back and watch a lot of video content. And so that 2 hour or 3 hour period that we got was what it was. I went to a SitCon Direct event that was done by Papadopoulos, Maiden Ariana, and some few other people here. I know Paul, I know you guys did one. It was still a good time. Um, but I think that it was a little bit bittersweet. The information that was given for me was okay. It was good info. Um, I hated the fact that they did the reveal of what's supposed to happen in Knicks. That just drove me crazy. I felt like that was like showing a bad movie trailer. Um, but other than that, I think that when we got to CitizenCon, um, there was still a little bit of uncertainty about the future, and that's kind of how I felt that people were
That's
feeling at
valid.
that time.
That's valid.
Um,
It's ironic too on a year of this kind of progress too.
Yeah, yeah, that is the irony, right?
I I I think that I you have to hit the elephant in the room, which impacted CIG sales.
Wicklow. Oh no. Okay. All right.
That's
Sorry.
the other that's the other
Wrong
elephant, but he's not
All right.
he's
My
not so
bad,
much
my
the
bad, guys.
he's not so much the elephant as he is the whale in the room.
Okay.
The elephant in the room, which was the you brought about this up, Cobb, which is the
Reputation system.
God damn it.
Start naming. We have 8 other things now.
you're hitting on every cylinder
the-
tonight, Cobb.
Hold on, man. I know which
The-
one you're
the
talking
blades.
about. Probably. I
The
got,
bla-
like,
the
I got like
blades,
4 or 5 elephants in front of me, and I
Yeah.
just got to pick the right ones.
the blades, the AI
Oh,
blades.
the pledge
that-
store.
yeah.
Okay, no, yeah, and marketing. I got
Yeah.
you. Yeah. That's the elephant. All
That
right.
that
We're
one
on- I'm
that
on track.
one that one hit their sales a lot harder than I think anyone's really willing to realize. You look at the number of players started to like was started off low in terms of new accounts, and then as they went year one on, it started climbing again in terms of number of new players coming in, and then you hit Invictus, which is new signups. You should see this big swoop up, but it went sort of petered out, and then in June it went poof, it just crashed again, which means that all of the ads, all of the bad advertising and the bad experience, because I will say CIG bumbled that really hard. It was one of those things where the entire community was pretty much in agreement, which was, we don't have a problem with blades. We have a problem with you putting money behind, or like blocking gameplay behind a pay gate, even if it's a timed pay gate. It just, especially for something this petty, it doesn't seem like a good idea. And then they bundled it with like skins, which felt even scummier. And then
Can I throw something in on that though?
Go ahead.
I agree with you. I don't disagree with your thing, but I think what also fueled it was both misinformation and information about that whole word blades.
yeah,
There were people who were thinking blades were going to be the fix to all ills of solo play
Yeah.
and a whole lot of other things. And
Oh,
so
man.
the blade hype is in mythology has been just building over years, right? So of all the things they decide to do that with,
yeah.
they decided to do it with blades. And I think that's what made it even worse, you know. And then when people got them, it was like, is this all it does? You know,
Yeah.
so it's like,
It's a small tweak, basically. And I think CIG took the wrong message, which was don't do the blades because everyone hates the blades. And it's like, no, I think people just were mad that they were selling like the stuff. I was pissed off, but because
Yeah.
my personal bugaboo was the bombs, because I for years have been a guy who been like, I want the Gladiator to have bombs on its wings so it can become a proper fighter bomber. And they release bombs, and it's like, perfect. Only it's not for the Gladiator. It's like, oh, well, at least they have bombs. Oh, you have to pay like $50 for bombs? What? For bombs? What is going on? What is this? And I think CIG completely misunderstood the reaction to it. Tried to do
Yeah, they did.
they tried to do damage control, and then after they did damage control, they still didn't understand they took away the wrong lesson, because it took them another 6 months to do all of those things that they were releasing an Invictus to release, which is the time frame they would have done it anyways. Actually, to be fair, CIG says they're supposed to release everything in 6 months. They usually never do. They usually take this nine months to a year, and this time they were actually forced to do their own timeline, normal timeline, after they said they would do an accelerated timeline and then didn't do it. So like it's one of highlighted one of the biggest problems that CIG has going forward, in my opinion, which is the question that I've talked with pretty much everyone on this panel about in the past, which is how do you monetize Star Citizen in the 1.0 phase? Like, how is Star Citizen going to be monetized in a way that can keep the game functioning, but doesn't feel like they're trying to hoover up as much money as possible? Like, somewhere between small indie dev, please help, and EA. You know, where are you going to find that balance? And I think CIG has had this year has been one of those things that's like CIG doesn't know. They don't know. And they're stepping on a lot of feet as a result. So
I want to say this too. I think that the other issue is, this is a different. Okay, there's a side of the development and this whole game that Jared always talks about this word change, right? And there's some change that's expected. There's like, okay, these things change. But then there are some things in their business model that get built in, that get accepted by the community, and we kind of look for that to be the standard.
Mhm.
And so, for example, we all know when it comes down to supporting the game and development through ships, that's fine. If you're talking about cosmetic, people can deal with that, that's fine. But when it came down to something like the blades, that would have been no different than if you just started saying, oh, if you want to pay for getting a quantum drive, you can pay cash for it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that fell into that same category as those items. And those items have never been, any discussion about any type of anything for them. They're just provided in the game, and that's it. And I think that's what also keeps the balance of what you're able to earn in game versus what people are willing to spend real money for. So the Blades thing was a faux pas. It was
Yeah.
it was not a good decision. I don't know who thought that was going to be a good decision, because this is the time when I asked, do y'all ever talk to the players about stuff before y'all do it? Because there'd have been 100 people that told y'all don't do it, but
Mhm.
for some reason they did it. And yeah, they tried to recover. They came back later and changed some things and said, okay, we're going to make it available in the store. But I think that also it's important that when those things happen, the community draws a line and states how they feel about it, and that CIG respect that. And and it's their job to figure out, to your point, it's going to be their job to figure out what that business model will be that will sustain the game financially. Because this community, whether they were $2 or $20,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? There was there was something about that didn't ring well with the players,
Yeah, no, and I think that's what started off the beginning of the middle of the year really poorly. I always used to say CIG never. There's an old saying about AMD, whereas AMD never misses an opportunity to miss an opportunity. Whenever something good happens, AMD has an opportunity to snap up business, and they always end up flubbing it. I feel like CIG never misses an opportunity to miss an opportunity in terms of their momentum. It's like they go into whenever it comes in the middle of the year, they have this great momentum. They always have this luster, this swagger, this shine, this height that's coming in the beginning of the year, and then they hit Invictus, and they're just like, all right, cool, we'll see you in October, bye. And
They ruined the
Yeah.
Idris release with that. Like, the story should have been the Idris release.
Yeah.
And how amazing it was, what a huge landmark that was for the game to have a ship that big. Like, all the YouTube comments could have just been,
Yeah.
the Idris is finally in game. Look at the size of the ship. Look at its interior. Look at us doing flight ops off the
deck,
landing deck area. Yeah, the hangar area. Like, all of that is cool as fuck on any other standard, and then they just ruined it. Instead, the talk became Flight Blades, and it's their fault. And that's what's classic about it.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh man, guys, you had a chance for a really big win, just the win, no L. And instead you took a bigger L than you took a W.
Yeah.
It's incredible, actually.
So I think that actually sort of soured a lot of folks for the next couple of months, because ironically, I feel like July and August were some of the better years CIG has ever had at July and August, because
I agree.
July was Onyx, and August was the Resource Rush and Site B. So, like, some of the best storytelling CIG has done in a while with the Onyx facilities and the Dr. Yoret storyline. And then the Resource Rush was some of the most engaging content, but in the most CIG way possible because everything was broken because they didn't expect everyone to want a line go up game. And again, talk about CIG not learning their lesson. They heard, oh well, we're going to give the winners this thing, so we're going to make sure that everyone can participate in all these, but only the winners will get this thing. And they didn't make it a competition, which it should have just been a competition. Once you get in, you lock in, you pick your team and you stick in the lane rather than running off to whoever's doing what. But people played a lot of it. I mean, that was the one thing I could say is that there was more interest and more people coming back just for the Resource Rush, despite all of the problems, than I'd ever seen in Star Citizen in a long time. And I think it just showed that there's a hunger for a lot of industrial players, non-combat industrial players, to have some sort of gameplay loop and some sort of events that were like tailored to them.
Can I agree or disagree with you for a quick second?
Sure, go for it.
I just want to highlight Resource Rush because I feel like it does highlight I agree with you on, hey, there's a lot of resource players, industrialists and stuff like that in Star Citizen, and this was their time to shine kind of event, and I wanted that for industrial players. I'm not an industrial player, but even I'm like, I appreciate anything that brings more people, in different styles of play into the game. Where I feel like I thought it was one of the worst played out events in the sense of, they're trying to achieve this potential with like the quality of the content. And I think they hit that mark, but like the idea that you can do all this and the rewards are just like watered down in the fact that you can keep doing it. Like I can get it for this company and this company and this company and this company.
Yeah.
And then in the end result is it doesn't effectively matter.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's
agreed.
and it's like
Yeah.
what a hype to a fail, in my opinion. So, it was one of those things like, I got it was broken at the beginning. That was the initial problem. They fixed it. They kept it going for an extra patch. Okay, great. But the end result is unfortunately incredibly disappointing. And unfortunately, in my opinion, highlights a lot of the design issues they still have with us in terms of like how to engage the community in an event, like a community-wide event. Yeah, a community-wide event. It's like, dude, get us to pick a side, get it to matter in the right way to us.
Get us invested in it.
And then not only that, but reward us, or even if that reward is in the negative and like my team lost.
Yeah.
But like in terms of consequence, reward us with the consequence of our side not winning in an impactful way. Like you do that, and man, talk about where this game could go. Unfortunately, it's still, again, unrealized potential. And I feel like Resource Drive or Rush or whatever it was just highlights the shit out of that.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
I was literally talking with Meyer earlier today about this, and it's just like one of the problems that he was having with a lot of the storytelling was like, Nyx or Onyx and Site B, some great storytelling, good atmospheric storytelling. Dr. Yoret was a compelling character. I mean, Dr. Yoret was played by the guy who played the Emperor in Baldur's Gate 3, the main bad guy in Baldur's Gate 3. He played him, he hammed him the hell up, and he's great with it. And they did like all these different audio files you could go through and figure it out, but you don't not have to. You can skip the cutscenes and just do what you want and just enjoy the gameplay, and the gameplay was fun. But if you wanted to go find all of those information, you could, and you could piece it together if you wanted to. And I love that sort of storytelling. The problem was that Site B was like, okay, there's going to be a standoff. We have to have a crescendo. There has to be something big that ends this story. And it's just a flayed open Vanduul that you shoot some lightning into, and that's it. And it's like, what is this? This is like, we're missing an entire section, a crescendo, some sort of thing that should be like, oh, we have to stop this horde of Vanduul human hybrids from getting out and possibly, destroying the world or whatever. Like, some stakes for people to have as part of this event. A boss fight.
Where's the boss fight?
They've talked about a boss fight.
Something.
Yeah. There's no boss fight.
Can I ask a rhetorical question?
Sure.
I'm not asking this because I'm disagreeing, because I was disappointed about some things. My question is it right or wrong? Maybe it's not a right or wrong thing. Is it reasonable to expect a fleshed out, well made storyline narrative game in a game that's in this state?
No, I don't think so.
And the reason I'm asking is because I know I do. There are times when I know I'm looking for that. Like, for
Yeah.
example, to Cobb's point, the whole resource thing ticked me off terribly because, and nothing, I don't want to say it's the wrong way. People picked which planet they went with because of which armor looked the coolest.
Yes.
They didn't care about their
Yeah.
planet. They didn't care about their planet's economy. They didn't care whether they were going to get a better tax break. They just like the Hurston armor looks the coolest.
Well,
So,
and
you know,
here's
and
here-
I was an ArcCorp person. You know what I
Yeah.
did because I'm such a lore person? I went the planet that was last in line, I did ArcCorp first. And then I started spreading to the other ones. But I don't blame people for that.
Yeah.
You know, I agree because Cobb was saying you got to give the right incentives. You know, if you live on Microtech, you should be rooting for freaking Microtech. You want Microtech to get the great discount. You know what I mean? And yeah, I didn't care about whether the Pyro Gate was named after Hurston, but if you put some other things in there that would have affected my fuel cost or something else like that, hey, that'd have been cool, you know. So I
That-
don't know. That's how I felt. about it.
yeah, and that's the thing. Is like there was no rippling repercussions, and that's one of those
Yeah.
things that Chris has said for years, is that he wanted to have your actions have meaning. Things you
Impact,
do have an impact on the verse,
Mhm.
even and especially with these sorts of events that they wanted to do, that they were going to have a longer term impact. And so the idea of giving, like right now, Hurston owns the Pyro Gateway. That's a great idea,
Mhm.
but there also needs to be some impact for that, so that players can
Yeah.
understand what Hurston is. And like we joked about this before. I joked about this before with several y'all about like the impact should be Hurston is, because it needs to recoup its losses because it has discounts on everything on there. Now everything is twice as expensive at the Pyro Gate. So it's like 4 times the price for gas at Pyro Gate compared to everywhere else. So people are like, well, why? And you just have a little audio pop up every time you refuel. It's like, thank you for your patronage. If you'll notice an increased amounts of fuel, it's because we had to offset our losses on the for the home for our central business area. Thank you for your cooperation. And it just
If Hurston was your home, you got a discount. If
Yeah.
you didn't live at Hurston, you got charged more.
Yeah.
Something
Or
like
if it was
that would
rep
have been
based.
cool.
Or if it was
Yeah,
rep based.
rep based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
those,
Like
those
imagine if it's like, oh man, I'm a Microtech. Like I'm not this person, but like imagine I was a New Babbage loyalist. You know, it's like that's my starting area, and I do bunker missions around New Babbage, and I have strong Microtech rep,
Mhm.
and then it's like, oh, Microtech wins, I get a discount on gas at
Yes.
the Pyro to Stanton Gateway.
Yes.
Like that would be
yes.
huge
Yeah.
if
Yep. Yep.
fuel costs mattered a little bit more and was a bigger money sink, or if like
Right.
hangar fees were cheaper.
yeah.
If we
Mhm.
had fucking hangar fees,
Yeah.
I'm getting in
Mhm.
that soapbox right now. But like that would be the stuff that really mattered to us.
Mhm.
Instead, they did intangible things in terms of universe cost,
Yeah.
which is just like I get some gear, cool. That should have been just like icing on a cake, though.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like gear should have been icing on a cake, and the fluffy part of the cake should have been really like, okay, what is the consequence or the reward for me as I play in game, and my team won, and we didn't do that. Instead, the only reward was the icing.
Yeah.
We just licked the icing off the cake, and we ignored the cake.
Mhm.
It's unfortunate.
And I think that's one of those things. Is like there was no buy-in for a lot of these events, and like I was mentioning, like the end of Onyx didn't really, it fizzled rather than banged.
Yeah.
And they could have done something in the sense of like explained more as to how this would affect the universe, and maybe changed a few things here and there. Elite does this fairly frequently with their community events, where like one big thing affects a huge amount of like storytelling. It feels like CIG saw that and wanted to copy that, but didn't really understand the like physical impact on the universe that building a new station in this region did in terms of a storytelling event overall. And to give CIG some credit, they're still learning on how to do these things, and so I'm hoping they learn from some of this. but at the same time, they've had a year now to take back the feedback and be like, hey, we need more tangible results. We need something more than just you put a golden statue in the like the station for Pyro, or you put the body of
Amelia Boyd.
Amelia Boyd in a
Oh man, what a fail.
in Ruin Station or whatever, and it's
Yeah.
there for like maybe a day before someone takes it down and stuff like that, and just gets glitched out. So like
To better
Go
to
ahead.
better answer Griffin's question, I'm sorry to interrupt, Paul, but I do want to. It just epiphany moment. To better answer Griffin's question, I think what bothers most of us is this feels obvious from a game design perspective to people that just play the game. And these guys are the guys that make this game are gamers. They have to know better. So
Yeah.
it does make me wonder if you're not wrong in the sense of like, can they simply just not do this? Can they not program or code these things in to make these events matter more to us? Is it too much effort while they're focused on Squadron 42 to make that a reality? Because I feel like there's Paul's, no offense, man, you mentioned several times like CIG's learning. And
yeah,
these are basics.
It's
Mhm.
obvious, yeah.
Yeah, these seem obvious at this point in time. Like, do they really need to learn these basics of like what a reward and incentive system should be for their game? Or is it really just well, guys, we don't even have the effort or the bandwidth to give you what we think you even need to more engage. So we half-assed it because we're really focused on another project, and you're getting the B team, no pun intended, in terms of like what's going on with Star Citizen right now.
yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
I-
I think that's really the meat of your question, though, Griffin. It's
Yeah,
like,
you
you
asked
know.
it correctly. I mean, a lot of times we just ask that question. Seems like that next step is so obvious, and it's like like you said, it just kind of it reaches this climax and then it falls off, and it's like somebody had to have known. And I try to do the same thing. I try not to make excuses in the sense of, well, maybe it's not the tech, or maybe it's not this the other. There's just some things that I kind of feel like, again, this is when I always say, did y'all talk to anybody before y'all put
Yeah.
this out? You know, because I'm sure there have been plenty of people who would have given you a real positive direction in which way to go with this thing. But again, when it's in development, it also makes it very difficult for me sometimes, because I'm like, well, are they just testing something? You know, they're not, it's not all 100% because they're only 80% of it is there. But when we see it later on, it'll be the full blown. I don't know. You know, I'm not behind the scenes enough to know. But to your point, Cobb, I agree. Sometimes it feels like you just missed the mark by this much. You know?
To answer the question of like, this is basic stuff, is it's also kind of to Griffin's point, which is like they're learning in the sense that they're figuring out what tech they need to tell what stories. Because like, to go back to this fight for Pyro and the Frontier Fighters stuff, like that was a disaster. That was an absolute cluster, and its reason why was because they thought that they were telling a story through drop pads, through notepads, that would be dropping with characters, and they weren't dropping, and they didn't explain anything, and so it was like all of the hints that they thought they were putting in were bugged out.
Right there.
And
Yeah.
so they were learned, okay, well, we can't rely telling a story on that. What do we do? And so they started moving towards, well, we need to start putting more resources on audio files, and for, and making sure they're reliable, and doing video conference calls with people. Like, that's what I mean by learning. It's like they're learning about what the tech they have now, what works and what doesn't, and how can they make something with what they have rather than what they want to have. And I think... And that's part of the reason I'm like, I'm going to be a little soft pawed on that, because it's just like, you're still building the game a little bit. I get that. But at the same time, this is also around the same time that CIG's narrative team were like, yeah, we're getting rid of negative reputation because it would hard lock people out of things, and we didn't really want them to hard lock. And it was just like, oh God, now it feels like you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah,
you
because they handhold us.
Yeah.
They handhold us like that, and it's discouraging. That's the kind of stuff that a lot of us really struggle with, in the terms of like, but there are other good examples of this, and I'll think of them later,
Yeah.
probably later on during the show. And I know I've talked about it before. It's like the moment they try and make something of consequence. You know, man, the community, a few voices in the community that are loud will be like, whoa, 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 how dare you take my missiles away from me?
Yeah.
That's my, you know, and stuff like that. And it's like, and they revert, and it's like, no, 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 guys, you got to make us eat it. You gotta make us eat consequence a little bit in the favor of making a game that has impact and, you know, like you said, incentive, Paul.
Mhm.
So you've gotta buy into that, and they don't. They you know, it's like, oh, you want all the rewards? Wouldn't it be cool if you got all the rewards? All right, we'll make an event that gives you all the rewards. You can get all the rewards. You don't have to commit to a single organization. You can have all the skins. You can have all the toys. And it's like, guys, that's not what we were asking for.
Children
I mean,
crave
that's maybe what a
discipline.
few people were asking. Yeah, exactly.
Children crave discipline. It may seem like they want all the toys, but in reality, they want structure. And the same thing happens with everyone. We want structure. And sometimes structure comes with negative consequences. The most interesting times I've ever had in a video game is where my plans did not work and I had to improvise and manage to solve a problem. In any kind of game, that's the times when people remember the most is like, well, that didn't work. Now time to go for plan whatever the hell we have, throw at it and figure out what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
Or the unexpected twists that you have. You're like, well, cool. I like that first time you play a Dark Souls game, and you're like, I beat the boss, great. And then it's like, what do you mean phase 2? What do you mean phase 3? You know, like, what do you mean he's not dead yet? You know, kind of thing. So, yeah. But that's where I think the middle of the year was. It was more positive, I think, than I would personally say it was more positive. It still had some negative aspects, but like Onyx proved that CIG could do something other than just bunker missions 1,000 times, and the kill missions 1,000 times. They could actually build levels and do some sort of storytelling inside of them. But then it fell down in terms of like the actual consequences or like an actual like boss battle, especially since CIG had been talking about the idea of doing a boss battle at the end of Site B, and it was like, okay, what's the boss battle? I don't know. Was the Yormandi supposed to be the boss battle? Like, because it was completely disconnected from Site B, and it feels like well, I don't know what's going on here or why this happened is like this. So I feel like the middle of the year was a little bit more contentious, but had some positives going into CitizenCon.
Agreed.
I think more people were enthusiastic than negative, but there were still some problems, and most of it came from the thing that's been happening the entire year, which is it works on my machine. Where half the community was like, man, I had the best year I've ever had, no problems. And the other half is like, why is Chris Roberts personally coming out of the computer and punching me in the face every time I turn on this game? What did I do to him? I just wanted to play my game, Chris, you know? All right, I think Griff, you're next probably. No, it's Cobb, you're the last one to speak on this one. Last part of the year, CitizenCon through the end until today. What was the vibes like? What was the vibes like this last 3 months?
All right, so start off with the beginning. I think CitizenCon was a mixed bag of emotions. Kind of a letdown in terms of like what it compared to last year, but I think we're all at that point in general with CitizenCons, especially ever since 2023, where it's just like, man, you know, you guys are selling us a lot. I think we've all gotten a little bit more jaded, you know, ever since 2023, where it's like you gave us all this stuff to look forward to, and then you've delivered on only a small fraction. But we've gotten some of the bigger things like server meshing and stuff like that, so it's weirdly balanced in that regard. That said, I think we all watched CitizenCon and came away with a few things where we're like, oh, looking forward to that, and some of those things might release soon. Really excited about the Genesis tech more than anything else out of that entire presentation. I've rewatched that a few times, and that's just incredible. That's going to be an industry standard setting event if they come out with that next year.
I know it's cliche, but because they said it over the time, but I've never seen grass look that good in a video game.
No.
You
Yeah,
never
I'm with you.
like grass is usually the texture that's sort of clumped together. At best, you get like 4 or 5 blades that are like sort of together. So you can you get close, it falls apart. It looks decent at a distance, but I've never seen where you could go up and see the individual blades of grass moving around through with the wind. Like what is that? That is insanity. So,
It is. It really is. Even the rock formations on like mountains and stuff.
Yeah.
I actually rewatched all of Citizen Con 2 days ago.
Mhm.
And that presentation holds out, and it's one of those things that's like, God damn, that's going to be an industry standard. Now, I'm going to roll that into my next point, where this is the problem I have with Star Citizen right now. The last year's kind of the last part of the year kind of highlights where they are still setting the bar so high that I don't know if any other game is going to be able to catch up, and that's an immersion. Like that Genesis tech, and then they come out with VR. And I'm a VR guy, so I'll soapbox for a minute, but my YouTube feed is already a lot of VR. But I can't tell you how much hype has come out with regards to Star Citizen VR in the last 3 months. It's insane.
It actually got me to pull my actual VR headset out and start using it again. Not just for Star Citizen, but for other things. I'm like, all right, I have this thing. I have a reason to use it.
Yep.
Now, you know?
Yeah. That is, talk about one of the hugest wins I feel like for this game and this community to get it this early, like and have it be this good. This is the best release of a product or a feature for Star Citizen, in my opinion, since EVA 2.0 or 1.0 or whatever the most recent EVA we got, where it just worked, and for the most part, very little bugs, and we were all just like, whoa, oh, EVA is like really solid now. VR is very close in for an initial release. Not what I would have ever expected. And what it provides, just like that Genesis tech will provide, hopefully next year, is like, man, next levels of immersion. And this game's really, 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 really good at that. It just needs a lot more gameplay. That's that's the biggest crime about all this. It's like all those org tools that we saw. Engineering comes in, and what a great thing. But I don't know about you guys, but how much are you feeling that on your day-to-day play?
Never.
Let's take the 4.5 bugs aside and the server backend issues out of it came in so like it was so impactful in the PTU, and then it releases and you're like, is it in?
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
I will say,
so it's kind of like good in that sense, that it didn't completely disrupt the gameplay, but at the same time, you're like, I kind of wanted a little bit of disruption.
Yeah. I will say it has been interesting because there was a lore mission one we did where we decided to rip out freshly like a bunch of equipment from another ship, and we think that what happened was it was still hot. The equipment was still hot, so when we put it in the cargo hold and closed the door, it
caught fire.
It caught fire because we were sitting down.
Yeah,
we were in the Valkyrie, and we were all sitting down in our chairs, and we hear "wing, wing, fire detected, fire," and we all just kind of looked at each other like, "What?" And we immediately grabbed the fire extinguishers, and we all ran out, and the entire cargo hold of the Valkyrie was on fire, and we're like,
Oh my God.
"How did this catch on fire?" And then we quickly put it out, but it was like, what happened? How did this catch on fire? It was like a great moment of like, this is what it should feel like when you're in a situation and just something bad happens. You're like, I gotta solve this problem, and it's super immersive when you hear that when the alarms go off and that voice sounds. It's just like for a moment I paused when it happened because it literally was like as if I had heard a fire alarm in my house. I was like, the sinking feeling of what do you mean fire detected? Where is the fire? What are you talking about?
Am I green on camera? Do I need to change the saturation levels? Because I'm jelly as fuck right now. Nah, it's good. Handle it.
It was great.
Like seriously, yeah. No, I'm jealous. I have not yet had that moment.
It was only once, and
it
was an accident. Ghost was the one who was flying the ship at the time, so I can't imagine what Ghost was like at the time when it was going off. I think we all just said, "What?"
Man. Well, I'm gonna have to play more once they fix the inventory ASAP issue because I want that moment. But that being said, I totally agree. Like engineering is a crucial thing, and I'm so glad they got it into the game. And I hope as they iterate on it, it will definitely change. The rest, I think that's their big win at the end of the year. But I'll be honest with you, I think VR overshadows it in a huge way. I've said it in your Discord. I'm gonna go soapbox for just a quick second on VR, guys. If you're smart, This is Night Cop's opinion, but if you're smart, you'll start selling your ships on the gray market, and you will, if you're like a concierge member or whatever, all but your starter ship, and you will go out and you will buy a good GPU and you will buy a good PC VR headset or VR headset, because that is the way to experience Star Citizen from now on. Is my honest opinion. You get a decent VR headset, this game is what it's finally meant to be in terms of immersion, and that'll sustain you without all the gameplay that they still haven't introduced for at least a little while longer.
Mhm.
I don't know how much longer, but a little while. So
And
there you go.
it just so happens that Steam is releasing their new VR headset in the next year, so it's just perfect timing for people who want to get a brand new headset that's top of the line. So
I got opinions on that,
okay.
not to be
Yeah,
shared
we
in this
could-
podcast.
We'll do a
Probably
whole show. Yeah, we should do a whole show. We should do a
So-
whole show on VR options.
which VR,
I will.
which VR headset and
I
stuff
have.
like that.
I do have to do a VR one in the beginning of the year, and I'll see if I can grab you and drag you on there because I got to get Chachi on there. Chachi would kill me if I didn't have him on.
We got 'em
VR,
already.
Yes, please. Please
So-
don't let me miss out on that one. I've got a lot of opinions. I've done a lot of research already.
It's
I'll
you.
say it
Now
to
that I
people
know
as
that
I
you're a
can.
big VR person, it's you, it's Chachi, and it's Radar Ranger to talk about VR because all three of
Cool.
y'all
This-
are pretty big. So
This thing was just for Star Citizen.
yeah,
Like I gave this up for DCS earlier this year for VR and a motion rig and a bunch of crazy other shit. This thing is dead to me now. I don't know. Somebody else probably wants this thing, and I'm willing to part with it, because it's just VR and Star Citizen now. VR and DCS, VR and Star Citizen. It's that good. It's that good already. So, head tracking done.
Axis. Same question to you. End of the year from CitizenCon to now. What's the vibes like? What's your experience been like?
I think it was okay. There was still some issues, with how CitizenCon was not live this year. Definitely the 2 hours as opposed to 2 days the previous year did not help the mood. It felt rushed, a lot of stuff in there, at least to me. And I want to say everything up until the lackluster Christmas batch we got, which I know everyone, it's a dumpster fire. It'll get fixed, but it's the end of the year patch. It's
Yeah,
gonna be garbage.
it happens. Yeah.
It does. Some of the, like I said, the unmentionable stuff said communication by CIG didn't help matters, kind of inflamed some bees, but
Yeah.
yeah, we're just gonna say that.
Yeah.
We're not gonna dwell on it. But more to the point, seeing Nyx again was a definite high spot. For those who don't know, back in the old days of pre 314, was it 314? Levski was a spawn point. I
Yeah.
came into the game at 3.8, about halfway through
Levski was home.
3.0.
All right.
Levski was home, yeah.
We joked about it saying we're going home when Levski comes out, but like us old guys remember Levski as being one of the first landing zone. It was before we had any other landing zone. We had Levski. Before we had Lorville, before we had the only other thing that's older than Levski is Grimhex and Olisar. Those are the only ones that are older than Levski. And Levski was the first, like, you could get out and you could run around the moon and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, Levski was home. It's seen some major updating. The hospital was in need, definitely not just a want. It was a need, just to modernize it a bit. I think the layout really hasn't changed super much inside. The city proper, principally.
Yeah.
But the vehicle hangars are gone.
Yeah, because there's no more
Planetary.
gravity. Yeah.
But I am hopeful at some point we get vehicle to personal elevator transfer at some point.
Yeah.
Big want, Paul. We both want it.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
that way we can load up ships in hangars and we don't have to go to something off base. It's just we're kind of in an impasse with current hangars, and it shows. I mean, it's good seeing the asteroid hangars again for us really, really old people.
hmm Those are really nice.
It does. It does. I'm pretty sure a lot of people in chat remember the ancient hangars. Revel in York. What
I
were the
remember
other
those.
ones?
I haven't even been here
Aeroview,
that long, and I remember those.
Aeroview, Asteroid, and what was the other one? There were 5, I think.
It was Southland,
Southland,
Aeroview.
Southland
There
Arrowview,
were
Revel in
4. There
York.
were
Yeah, and the
4.
New
And
York
this,
one.
and the asteroid one. There were 4 of them, I think.
There were 4.
hmm
Okay.
We've
But
we've
yeah,
only had 2 all this time, so
seeing Nyx again was, or at least Levski in general, was a good thing. The Van Duel introduction was completely a surprise this early. You know, I mean, we're still a ways away from 1.0, folks.
I am from Squadron
And-
42 because like I was of the opinion that Squadron 42 would be the first time where we actually see the Van Duel, and CIG was like, no, we're going to start putting them in now, which I think leads to me to believe that they were expecting Squadron 42 to come out last year, and then they just delayed it from an announcement because there's been a lot of rumors that were floating around that they were going to announce Squadron 42 at CitizenCon 2023, and then they didn't.
See, that was my theory too, Paul. Seeing them this early means that they
2024.
decided to continue with their planning for the verse
Mm-hmm.
and push forward with 42's background improvements to publish, put
Yeah.
it out there. Which makes me wonder, going into the next segment, which is, a little bit of next year, what are we going to do? Are we going to see more 42 content, or
That's a good question.
more PU, or we'll just table it for now?
We'll talk about the last section of this segment. We'll talk about what we're looking forward. We're looking forward to 2026. What do we see? But I'll ask Riff the same question. This last year, from CitizenCon to now, what was the vibes, your experiences, your ups and downs?
wow. As we get toward the end, I guess some of the last ISC SCLs that they did were pretty informative. They were a bit more on the where they were going and what they had accomplished over this year. So I got a little bit more excited about things. Sometimes it's very easy to forget what actually happens over a year. Remember, at one point, CIG used to do like an end of the year video that kind of showed you everything they did that year, and you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I forgot that they did do this or they did do this." Um, I think that Nyx was definitely. I'm going to kind of spin back to Pyro and Nyx. I think in the previous years, we got kind of used to them starting to deliver things within a year and a half period. Some things that we would see at a convention, we'd start seeing them pop up. We had that one year where they said within 1 year, you'll have these 12 ships, and they delivered like 10 or 11 out of that year. And then the next year, they followed up with more
Mhm.
ships again, but not just ships, but just delivery of other things. But the thing that was a little bit of a PTSD was that the introduction of both Pyro and Nyx took us back 7, 8 years when presentations were about vision more than delivery.
Mhm.
So when we first saw Pyro, we saw activity, we saw gangs, we saw reputation, and then we saw the solar flare, remember? But then when we got it, we had to build up to those things over time, some of which still aren't there. Nyx was kind of the same way. We got the great presentation at CitizenCon Direct showing all the stuff that they wanted to do and the 3 planets, even though they gave us a heads up that, the planets weren't going to be there in the beginning. But it kind of took us back to that thing of, here's the sandbox, but we've got to still build it out.
Yeah.
And I've had mixed feelings about is this the best way or not? I still think I can't wait till the documentary comes out because I can't wait to see the screaming and hollering and why decisions were made. Sometimes decisions seem stupid to us, but we don't know the reasons why. And sometimes the arguments are good that we bring up, and they do make a faux pas. They do mess up on a decision. But when Nyx came out, I agree with Axis. It was a great return to something that many of us were familiar with and missed. There were a lot of people who never saw it. I think that the expansion work they did in Nyx is great. I think that they kept the original vibe, but expanded it in areas that needed to be fleshed out more. And so I really, really like what they did there. Um, I'm just a little disappointed that I would have wished that at least if one of the planets would have been there, that would have been great.
Yeah.
Now, the last thing I'll say in this is I do appreciate the fact that they have been tying in these splash pages with the news articles, that those actually are meaningful in the universe when you read about them. So the information that they just gave us about faster than light, the information they gave about the doctor, that those things actually kind of give you something to focus on when you go
Hmm.
into the universe. Um, so I do like the fact that they've been integrating the lore, that the lore team and the narrative team have been stepping up and bringing these things. Sometimes they miss the mark, but just the fact that lore isn't just something that we talk about anymore, Paul,
Yeah.
or that even you talk about, but now we're seeing it fleshed out in the game. Even the whole spin of why
Yeah.
Nyx has changed now with Nyx One.
Mhm.
I'm liking the fact that because we've held on to lore so much like a Bible that it can't be modified, and as long as their modifications make sense,
Yeah.
the redactions change and make sense, I'm cool with it. I'm because you need a place to start. But to see what's going to happen now with the People's Alliance there and the UEE coming in now is actually intriguing to me. I'm curious to see where that's going to go. The fact that when they built
Me
Nyx
too.
out and made the sky dark red in one direction, that that's going to kind of be there to let us know that something is happening with the Vanduul. Those things to me, I think, are really exciting for us to look forward to. I just again, I'm getting older. I want to see this stuff
Yeah. You want to see it
a
out.
little bit sooner.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm digging where things are going so far.
Yeah, no, to jump on that, one of the things I'll say at the end of the year, which has been interesting, is with the release of Levski, what Night Cop talked about at the very beginning, with like the NPCs talking to each other. Levski has been sort of the culmination of that, because it is only missing a quest marker or an update to your
Mm,
Moby-Glass to say, the Moraine, the UEE, the People's
yeah,
Alliance, like to update to your, like, so you go, oh, what's this? What are they talking
yeah,
about? And check my Galactopedia to know what's going on, because they're basically doing that. Like you'll hear two NPCs talking about how my like for instance, there's in the one of the articles they mentioned that there was a raid, a Vanduul raid on an outpost, a PAL outpost. I can't remember the name of it, but it was recently. And the NPCs will talk about my cousin was at
mm,
that location, and while the service was really solemn, it's scary to know that these people are coming out and they're like, what are we gonna do about these Vanduul? They're coming out there. Oh well, the UEE can save us. Fuck the UEE. Like I don't want to be part of
mm,
the UEE. It's like this. You can feel the actual like discussions with the different people in Levski about the situation they're in, and it feels realistic. And you still have some of the generic stuff there, and there are more specific information in places, especially in like Pyro has its own unique wild lines about like guild membership and
right.
dealing with the different gangs and stuff like that. But like they're actually wild lines that matter, and they're contextual now, which is so
Mm,
cool with that with the latest one. I'm trying to be all the nice things because 4.5 punched me. Chris Roberts climbed out of screen and punched me in the face with 4.5. So I'm trying
Yeah.
to.
Not just you, man.
Well, so many of us, I know.
Yeah, yeah.
I I will. I am a little bit more calm than I was earlier today because
Yeah, they're
when
ruining they're ruining your pubathon.
holiday break.
well
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, he was doing a pubathon and he couldn't
Oh
get
yeah, the
that shit
pupathon.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, man, that sucks.
it felt bad, but
Yeah.
at least we had some information because Bearded finally came on and said because so the problem I had was I'll just get out of the way before we can get back to like the general for Citizen Con to the end of the year. But for those of you who don't know who haven't been playing recently, the last 2 days they've done major fixes to the back end, which require them to take down and do maintenance on the back end and bring it back up. So they took down at like middle of the day in the UK, which is an odd choice. But they did it, so it was clearly like this the time they had, and they took it. to do some maintenance, and it improved the performance a little bit in the game. And then about 6 hours into that, after that maintenance came out, everything started to degrade, and it was like you can't call ships, missions aren't populating properly. Inventory is taking like 30 minutes sometimes to update, so you can't even get access to your inventory. And it's the worst part is that it's random. Some places it's better, some places it's worse. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on the shards. Sometimes as the shards slowly degrade, but it's all their connection to the back end, and the back end sort of slowly imploding on itself. And when they did another fix, I was like, okay, so maybe they just had a quick fix and they needed to fix it. And then the same thing started happening today, and I'm like 12 hours after they did this fix, and it was like, oh my God, please don't tell me what they're doing. They're doing what they used to do. Because if you don't remember, those of you who haven't been here long, there was an entire, I think it was 2.0, it might have been 3.0. It was a 3.0 branch, where the entire holiday break, they're very skilled, talented, and highly paid, I'm hoping, network engineers, Bearded and Ahmed, who are here in Austin. They basically stayed over the holiday break, restarting the servers manually for an entire holiday, like every 3 hours. And I was like, are they doing this again? Is this what they're just going to spend their 4.5 engineering's released, Nyx is out, Victory Lap, two systems, by having their best server engineers play 14-year-old on a Minecraft server and restart the server every 3 hours manually? Like, I was like, oh man, that made it even worse, because it's like, God, the whole thing is bad. This whole poorly planned. But luckily, Bearded did update and was like, hey, we're looking into what's going on. And then the edits were like, okay, something's weird's happening. And eventually it was like, oh, now I see all these problems. We're going to have to investigate. This is a deeper problem. I thought that it was we don't have the staff. We're just going to keep restarting and hope it fixes itself, and just maybe we'll do okay. But it sounds like they're actually going, oh no, there's a problem we need to fix. So hopefully they'll have a fix for it. So
I'll be right back, Paul.
You're good. I'm going to finish up my thoughts in general. I think the end of this year was mostly better. It's less hype than I anticipated. Like, I thought it was going to be a little bit higher in terms of its people anticipation for things. It was fine mostly, because like after CitizenCon we got the 4.4 patch. I was pretty impressed that CIG was going to go balls to the wall and release Nyx with 4.4, especially after CitizenCon, because if you don't remember CitizenCon, Chris comes up and says, hey, we're releasing Nyx this year. At the start, that was like the beginning of CitizenCon, we're releasing Nyx. They're just like, oh, okay, that's a Hail Mary, and then, releasing Nyx, it's been fun to go back to Levski. Levski is home. I love Levski. I love the vibe of Levski. It's improved very well, I think. There's so many different good things that have happened. Nyx is basically just a couple of mission locations, the Glacium Ring and Levski right now. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to the question and answer, because there's a question on that one. I think we can get into that one a little bit more. But overall, I think Levski was handled fairly well. And then 4.5 with engineering, as you said, Cobb, is sort of one of those where it feels like it was released in the PTU and in testing. It was very important. It was very impactful. And then they just slowly dialed it back to where it just doesn't feel like it's actually matters.
Just not as impactful as I think we all thought it was going to be.
Exactly. It's not as much of a, I have to pay attention to this. It's more of an afterthought. And I really hope that that's just because they wanted to get it to a position where they had it right now. Because like they knew they weren't going to balance it.
I think it's handling with kid gloves again, man. They handle this community with kid gloves.
I don't see them keeping it like this, especially with things going forward. I really hope it's going to change, especially with them going, hey, no, we're still going to work on engineering stuff. But
me too.
We'll see.
But it's I don't know. It just feels reminiscent of the times where it's like, oh, we're going to increase claim times. Oh, we're going to make it so you don't get missiles back, even on reclaim. after the first claim, and it's like, oh man, that's gonna really shake up the game, and then they just revert.
Yeah, people got mad. I still have hope.
Sorry.
I have a fool's
too.
I have a fool's hope that it'll improve, but that it was a little bit of a letdown. Like I don't mind it as much to the idea the focus of it being sort of a thing you do as part of your regular maintenance and gameplay. It's sort of like the kick the tires before you get into a plane, the like you check your oil every so often, the things you
Damn it, Paul. I'm gonna make one last play for this, man. DCS. Damn it. Just come over and play with me, man. I promise you'll have a good time.
It's technically free to play, so I can do the whatever free to play. What is it? The F16 is the free to play version or whatever it is?
No, Paul. I'll buy you your first fucking module during the December sale. If that's what it's gonna come down to, man. Merry Christmas.
Hey.
Yeah.
You
tell me what plane you like, and we'll figure it out, man.
The meme inside me says the F4 Phantom because that would be a stupid idea, but
oh, bro, I'll teach you the Phantom. We're off topic, but
yes.
I mean, like, nah, I'm down.
Yeah.
We'll do the Phantom. Sold, man.
I'm trying to think, but in general, 4.5 I feel like is a weird place to end the year on. It feels like a good position, but I feel like it also sort of sets us up for what I think is going to come next year based off of what they've talked about and what Chris talked about when his letter from the chairman at the end of the year. Though I will say the letter from the chairman was very nice because I'm always happy when CIG gives us data because I was a marketing researcher. So we worked with data. We took surveys and we have focus groups and all those sorts of things, collect all that stuff together and then like analyze it and look at it, find the patterns in it and then deliver that sort of thing. So whenever CIG gives us data, I'm like, yes, let's hear a little bit about how Star Citizen is doing, even if it is a little bit cherry picked and it's definitely Chris is going off of what it is, but like what makes them look best. But there was some interesting data in that. Like for instance, Star Citizen, like there was like 68 million collective playtime hours this year compared to 48 million last year, so almost double. And then there was like people crashing out of game was like 50% lower than it was last year. So like people were playing longer, having less problems as they played. In terms of
they fed us a bunch of that data. I would like to know the raw data on like what their concurrency is.
Oh, I would too. I'd love that. Are you kidding me? That'd be great. I think CIG gains more with the concurrency stuff than they lose by letting us into the information.
Kind of what makes me wonder why they kept that particular piece of data a secret.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like they gave us the vague tens of thousands of people, and it's like,
But I mean, like,
can you give us the numbers?
That's the thing is that like we know that there's new players coming in because the new player accounts went up, and anecdotally, we've seen more new people coming in to play the game.
Oh, without doubt.
So you'd think that the numbers would be higher this year.
I think it depends on what patch they joined, whether or not they had staying power.
Yeah, they could have at least given us the total number of people.
Yeah.
That would have at least been
now.
Yeah.
Right now, their concurrency is probably shit, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I bet it had a sharp jump at the beginning of 4.5. Whereas, 4.4 was a pretty good patch with Nyx. It wasn't like super broken or anything like that, so concurrency was probably pretty solid. But you had like the beginning of Resource Drive, like when everything was just broken and everybody jumps in just to get frustrated, probably concurrency took a hit.
Yeah.
Hathor in its heyday though, where it was like, and I think it's actually technically the patch after Hathor released, where it was like it was working really well and you had a lot of gameplay to go with it. And with Lazarus, I think recently introduced, I bet you had a ton of concurrency.
Oh yeah.
So it may have depended on what part of the year. But I'm curious to know what their peak numbers were, and if they tell CIG certain things. I don't know. I think that was the overall message from the chairman though, was like, hey, concurrency went up overall across the year in general because we brought in more stable, I'm going to say stable servers and
Yeah.
patches and stuff like that.
In
Although
comparison
content,
to last year, yes, it's more stable. But
yeah, but I agree that like at this point in the year, content is like, man, good luck in terms of getting a piece of content that they've released this year to work consistently for you. You might be able to stay in the game longer and in general fly around longer without any major issues, but man, trying to get a piece of content to work for you is kind of a different story.
I think that's one of the downsides of this year overall was that none of the content worked the patch it was released. And sometimes it was fixed in a patch or so later, but often it was because I think we didn't even mention Wicklow this year, which was such a up and down thing.
Technically, I did, but I was incorrect in assuming that was the elephant.
Elephant. That's the Banu
We
in
can
the
come
room.
back to that
That's the
elephant.
merchant. That's a merchantman in the room. But like Wicklow is a great example. He's a great example of this year overall because like he was introduced at the beginning of the year, super hype. Everyone liked it. I was hyped for it because it's like, okay, we're getting a Banu. Yeah, it's just a head and torso, but like we're getting like an alien in the game as and we're getting physicalized, like go out and do things for me and you get these rewards, which we've been asking for forever.
Yep.
And as the year went on, people began to hate Wicklow more and more. The bugs that introduced around him, the insane recipe requirements, the it just became one of those things where like no matter what, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody in Star Citizen who likes Wicklow, even as a concept at this point. It's such a poisoned well. And I think that's sort of like a metaphor for what's happened over this year. It's like it's good. It really started really high and we've slowly gone down. Not necessarily completely negative, but it's definitely more whelmed. We're definitely more on a level playing field. Like they introduced a bunch of changes to Wicklow with recently. We're like now Wicklow is giving out ships for favors rather than 4 different trips to kill the worm to get like a single Icti. Now you can get stuff without having to go to the worm at all and just go get a few rare resources here and there and a bunch of favors. So like they clearly listened to us a little bit and improved that. And he requires reputation now. So like there's some advantages there, but it's still like there's a long hill to climb out of in terms of to improve Wicklow's reputation amongst the player base because he's sort of been this sort of joke for a long time. So
and I mean the crime, I know, Paul, I know you have to be in the same camp of it's not even just that they just changed the recipes. It's like, why is it still just Wicklow?
Yeah.
Why in the hell are we not doing things for factions, for faction rewards? You've proven the tech. Why can't there just be other? And it doesn't even have to be a specific location. Why can't there just be other entities attached to the freaking freight elevators that I can send stuff down on the freight elevator and that satisfies a contract in the terms of like I buy X thing from the council and now I have a ship or a component.
Yeah. They should.
I made a comment too a while back too. Like the thing that criminal for me for Wicklow is Wicklow used to do components, like grade A components, mill and stealth, and they took it away. And it almost feels intentional that never came back. But man, wouldn't that have been cool if we had decided to like get crazy with the player base and be like, hey, the only way you can get grade A mill and stealth components is by grinding that out with a reasonable recipe through Wicklow, and we're going to stop giving you grade A, grade B components from the mill and stealth varieties on your reclaims on your ships. Ooh, but you're not ready. You're not ready, player base. We got to treat you with them kid gloves still.
Why just Wicklow, as you said? Like, why couldn't it be, Jericho? Just have like INS Jericho. They still have the model. Just have it be. They just add an elevator to that, and you have like the commander of Jericho Station or the supply officer of Jericho Station who needs a little help, and he'll give you a little stuff that fell off the truck if you for the grade A mill and stealth.
with you, man.
or some crazy eccentric collector Hurston who wants all these crazy things, and as a result, he'll give you these rare resources or weapons, these upgraded weapons, stuff like that. Like just characters. Give us more characters. Give us Wicklow, but characters. You know, new, different people. I think that would have also taken the heat off of Wicklow, because if someone broke, if crazy, collector Hurston guy fucked up one patch, then it wasn't Wicklow's fault. It was the crazy collector Hurston guy, and so people would blame him and not the other, merchants in the game, because that was what they were looking for, kind of thing.
To Griffin's point earlier, though, what bothers me about all this, and we can talk about it if we want to encapsulate the year later, but what bothers me about all this, and I think it's highlighted at the end of the year too, is do you just feel like from the content perspective, Griffin brought it up earlier. It's like, okay, you gave us all this content, but instead of giving us what we probably really needed to go with that content, which was tools in the sandbox, more sandbox related tools. Like if you had given me reason to grind out mine in the belt, for, a material that a faction member wanted so that they would provide me materials that I could use to upgrade my ship, and you had done that instead of focusing on, integrating the content aspects of, I'm trying to provide an example, I guess, but it would be along the lines of like, oh, you gave us Site B and you gave us these materials that you could get out of Site B, and you made that the focus for playing your content. Like, but you never made the focus. You guys introduced new gems, new minables and stuff like that, but you gave us zero reason to mine them, zero reason to go after them. And it's super weird that was kind of like the push this year, and what made it, I don't know. It's just like, it's one of those things, like I feel like they lost sight of like what would actually keep us going from a daily grind perspective. It's like, I don't know. I feel like you would want us to go out into the belt, or to, anywhere to like, to create a piracy loop or something like that. But they just want to incentivize the content, it feels like, more than the sandbox.
I think
that makes sense.
And I think that's
I rambled a little bit there. I'm sorry, guys.
I think that's a good way of encapsulating where I think the mentality is, and I feel like that's a mentality that needs to change as they get towards 1.0, because eventually they're going to run out of new content. Like they'll still do new missions and mission givers and stuff like that, but they won't need to test them. They're just going to have for people to play, and the goal is for them to have fun with those things rather than testing. And it feels like right now Wicklow has become the guinea pig for testing, in the sense that they want you to do the new thing so they can figure out if it works, and they're going to tie all of those things in with Wicklow. So if you want to get your Idris that you've been grinding so hard, they're going to change the recipe every patch just so that they can get you to do the new thing to grind rather than the old thing. And that, I think, put a lot of people off as well, because of the problems with Wicklow being the stick, or the carrot rather than the stick, the carrot for people to do the new things. And it felt like they weren't, like, if I wanted to do Hathor, I remember when they said, well, Hathor is, there's going to be a lot of people who it's very popular, and, if you want to do Hathor will still be there next patch. Only everything you do with Hathor won't matter next patch, because Wicklow won't take any of that stuff, and that stuff isn't going to be valuable except for maybe some credits. And if you want to make credits, it's a lot easier to make credits by doing this one exploit that they haven't fixed in 3 months that can make you a billion credits in like 10 minutes. So why would I grind Hathor for credits when I can just do this thing for credits? It's incentives. It's about, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And if there's no incentives, it becomes just content, just mindless content, rather than, I want to play this because this is fun or engaging, or because of the dynamics that can happen or whatever. So, all right, let's wrap this up, and then to talk. We've kind of gone a little bit longer than I anticipated, but let's wrap this up in terms of like overall the year, and then looking forward. So let's start off with the wrapping up all of the year. Griffin, your thoughts? Overall this year, good, bad, somewhere in between.
If I have to look at the overall over the years more than anything, so I'm going to say good.
Okay.
There's always some bad elements. Things could be done better, maybe done differently. But I think overall, the amount of work that they did, particularly in the areas of server meshing, tightening some things up with performance. I think performance was something you heard less people talking about, except for when it came to lag ski. But in general, everyone's performance got better. Frame rate stepped up for a lot of people. People with moderate rigs felt that the game was playing better for them. And so I think that overall, from a tech perspective, that there was some good things. There was always great upgrades visually to the game, enhancements, new lighting passes, new graphics passes that took place, bringing the game closer to immersion. Um, so I'll stop there because I know everybody else will have something to say, but I will say in relation to next year, and I'm glad you guys touched on it. It was the letter from the chairman. The things that I saw that there was really hints to where their direction would be was, as you mentioned earlier, Paul, possible work toward dynamic server meshing next year in 2026. There was emphasis on, Cobb mentioned it, about Genesis starting to come more into fruition, along with more Maelstrom related things, hopefully. And then there was the area where they talked about inventory, implementing the insurance aspects of it, cross patch persistence, and recovery work. And then, of course, Squadron. Possibility still for next year. Their advertising and marketing still has 2026 at the top and bottom of the letters that are going out. So, yeah, I'm excited for 2026 still.
All right. Axis, overall thoughts on 2025 and what you're looking forward to with 2026.
First, given the early parts of the year, I was going to give it maybe a C for the year, but I would say generally a good year. B plus, A minus. There's been some rough patches to be sure. We're definitely scrolling up in that video. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I would definitely say it's been one of our better years. Through the end of the year patch kind of soured it from a A plus to me, and almost a B plus, but the looking into next year, the letter from the chairman, definitely they're promoting Squadron obviously for 2026 on the long view, probably later in the year, but in the early part of the year, crafting possibly on the horizon in March. Maybe I'm going to say April, maybe into May, as a fair guess, for maybe.
Okay.
If they're aiming for March, we know it's going to slip a little bit, Paul. Inventory being January late, that's not happening. It's going to be February mid. Let's be real. Or March.
Or June.
I'm just saying, because they're getting back from break. Let's be real, guys. They're not going to be.
Well, you also got to remember that it's when they do those sorts of progress tracker updates, they are estimates of when they will finish their sprint, not when they release, but an estimate of when they finish what they're currently working on. And they can always
That's a workflow tracker. That's not a progress tracker.
Yeah.
That just shows what their workflow
That's
is.
when they're done with it internally, not.
And it's what they're even guesstimating, because they don't even know, because they could come to the end of that sprint and be like, well, we still need to do X, Y, or Z, or it needs to be broken up and changed. And this happened multiple times in the past too. So it could end up getting later. So but I agree that I do think that they're targeting the beginning of this year, and I'll go over why I think in a moment. But go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think they're going to work on filling out Nyx with 1, 2, and 3, the planets, and then Paul, you and I have talked about this in past podcasts. We think we're going to move on to Castra.
Oh yeah, Chris said as much
Probably-
in the monthly report, or monthly report in the letter from the chairman. So yeah.
Now, whether or not, like the other systems, it's changed a bit. Maybe you got a couple of moons, a third planet, or an asteroid field. Do we know? No. But it's a fair assessment, being a fairly large system, even if they shrink it, say down to 14 AUs, that's a huge system compared to even Nyx is 11. So that's bigger square area than Nyx by a lot. They're going to have to fill it up with stuff. I can imagine military stations. abandoned and restricted areas, because let's face it, it's a military system.
Ooh. You just gave me the idea of a heist mission where you have to go into a military base and steal something of value from a military base before like you know
Very Andor-esque.
a quick response force shows up to stop you. You know, so you've got like a timer. That'd be cool. And Andor in terms of getting there and stealing a bunch of like the pay or something like that. And while you're there, like, oh, look at all these military grade equipment. I'm gonna walk out with, you know.
Hey, you, what do you think you're doing?
Yeah.
This is my shopping cart, and this is my exit. Bye.
We're fine here. Everything's fine. How are you? Yeah, you know.
I'm calling for backup. This treat doesn't work on me.
All right, I get what you're saying though. Yeah, I do, and I think Nyx's or Castro's got the least amount of like. It doesn't
Hey.
damage the story if you add a asteroid belt or like a bunch of stations to Castro. It's like, yeah, it makes sense. It expands what it already was. So
It was a military system. Where would they get raw resources immediately close to Cascom
Yeah.
to produce anything? You know, it's a military system. When you're a military that has set up an outpost, typically you look for, and even being non-military, you have to have some in-suite resources in the region you've established a presence in to establish a foothold.
easier to
Basic.
logistic chain. Yeah, make your logistic chain shorter.
I'm pretty sure Night Cobb would agree with me on that. It's easier to have
Logistics is key.
logistics.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easier to establish a presence when you have less stuff to carry a long distance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to carry out like that.
That's all right.
Yeah, definitely Castra end of the year. I could see at SitCon a preview for Terra. Possibly.
Okay.
Possibly under 20%.
Nightcob, you same things. Your thoughts on 2025 overall as a year, and then your thoughts in 2026. Like what's coming up for 2026.
I think 2025 is a solid year to build upon. I think it's really hard not to ignore, to ignore the fact that we have server meshing and we have now 2 additional systems. I don't really give a shit what state they're in.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. The fact that they came in to this year with jump tunnels and all that stuff and the ability to transition seamlessly into these systems regardless of whether or not there's content, that's a huge leap for them. And they are moving in the right direction with some things. They did provide us a lot of content. We are not doing the same 15 missions that we were stuck with for the better part of 2, 3, 4, I don't know.
8 years.
It wasn't really, it feels like a long ass time. And don't get me wrong, a lot of them are broken, and we are missing some of the ones that we did have a while ago, like the racing ones and whatever. But man, they did progress in some areas. I think what CIG, if you're listening to me, and please listen to me on this one thing. You guys, you have to use next year to build more of the sandbox tools, like the social tools that you sold us 2 years ago. Like if they don't come in next year, I don't know what's going to happen when Squadron 42, if it does release next year, when it does release. You can't let that game release without any of those social tools being in the game. Like if you have not revised beacon system and reputation by the end of next year, when it's time to release Squadron 42, like, man, you're going to lose a lot of the players that you would have gained. Like, and, I don't know. You got to give us the tools in the sandbox more than you did this year, next year. And that's what I really want out of CIG next year. My hopes for 2026 are related to quality of life stuff with regards to social tools and sandbox related tools and iterating upon the bare minimum bullshit that we got. I'm going to reference Wicklow again in terms of like, ooh, potential, and then you ruined it because you didn't touch it again the rest of the year, and or you mishandled it. Please stop that. Please stop that next year. For the love of God, please stop that, because you get serious marks in immersion and universe building, like positive marks, but you drop the ball in a few other areas that we were really hoping that you were going to do good stuff with. And I know everybody's really looking for features and stuff, and I don't know how much sandbox tools are for features. I think they're probably pretty closely related, but man, give us more of the sandbox tool related features more than anything else. Like I don't give a shit if Maelstrom comes out next year.
Mhm.
Don't care. If you gave us the correct social tools to use in game, I think that'd be a bigger win than Maelstrom would be. So pick your poison, CIG. If you gave us a working reputation system that actually mattered for events, that's a bigger win than FPS scanning, guys.
Yep.
I don't know. If you're sitting down in your January meetings and you're trying to figure out what your fucking priorities are, please focus on those.
give us the buckets and the shovels to play in the sandbox.
Yeah.
Come on, yeah.
Yeah. And that should also take the heat off of them for producing more content, because if you give us the buckets and the shovels to make our own content, then we don't need your content as much. And
I know.
It means they can focus on making those contents as good as possible and releasing them every 3, 4, 5 months. And so that we can, when we have the tactical fleet ops, it's like, I feel like this was really worked on by a group of people who are passionate about making it work, and not like, it's got to come out in this patch and this patch is going, so let's roll it, so drop
Patch
that
always
box,
goes.
drop this boss battle because we just don't know, we don't have time for it, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I want to make a comment. The Apollo release was very hotly anticipated, and he brought up beacons.
Mhm.
Okay. Had we had like the re-implementation of rescue beacons, to any degree, the Apollo would probably be a more favored ship now, or the release of it probably would have gone off a little bit better this year. Possibly. I'm not saying without the drones it's complete, but hindsight's 2020.
It lacks gameplay. Like, a lot of people were hoping that the release of that would add gameplay. Now they get a little stagnant. As far as, even though I was a little negative on this year, I think this year was one of the better years CIG's ever done. Like I'm gonna be Mr. Positive on this one. I think it was one of the better years CIG's ever done, only because for the first time in a long time, we were talking about bullshit gameplay and not bugs. Bugs happened. They were still causing problems, but the problems most people had was like Wicklow due to bugs, but also like the crafting recipes were fucking weird. The missing of the reputation system. It was like, we're missing the systems that would make this game better, or the systems that are implemented are just not quite there yet. The balance is off here. The we need to fix missiles hit there. Look at these giant ships now. How are we going to deal with these ships now that they're huge and one person can solo an Idris and not have to worry about anything? Like, these problems are a lot more gameplay focused than, I literally can't log into the game. Every time I log into the game, I fall through the planet. I can't call my ships, all that sort of thing. Now, we did have those things. I had those things today, but the fact that they were only
Hasn't
happening
been all year.
Yeah, it happens.
That's fucking fair, Paul.
It feels like
that's
a
a fair
real
point.
ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels, and that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people are frustrated, is that it feels like a game. Like it's now we're in the part of CIG having to make a game rather than just having to deal with bugs, and we're seeing where they know what they're doing and they clearly haven't come up with an ideas yet, or lacking in their what they're doing, which is a nice change of pace. I would much rather be in a community where we're sitting there being like, why the fuck did you nerf the JS300 CIG? What did the JS3000 ever do to you? That was my thing. I love that thing. Why do you hate it so much? Versus why did my ship get eaten by the ship elevator for the 17th time?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we're asking questions like Griffin brought up of like, why are you guys struggling with game design that feels obvious, instead of the question that I feel like was predominating last year is, can you guys even make this game that you want to make?
Yeah.
Like, that question is mostly dead.
Yeah, they can do it. But they have the technology now. It's done. Server meshing is in. Dynamic meshing is just a matter of time. Not an if, but when. The reputation systems, all the systems they've proven out are simple systems that they can build. And they've proven they
it's
can do
more
it.
of the question is this going to be designed to be the game I want to play, not whether or not is this game even possible of becoming a thing. That's actually pretty impressive. Solid point, Paul.
Yeah. I mean,
Not to
to
toot
give
your horn
to
there,
give
man.
to give Chris credit, like having the reason why they were pushing Nyx out was because they wanted to prove to everyone that no, we're not just going to release one system and then call it a day for another 8 years. Like, no, we're gonna push it, and there's been problems with that, but and we'll talk about it in the question and answer session because I've got some therapy to work out with chat and y'all on on Pyro and Nyx. But 2026, I'm gonna be a little bit more negative on 2026, but in a positive way. I have dubbed the 2026 the half-ass citizen year. Because it's going to feel like CIG's half-ass and everything. Because I feel like what they're going to do, what they did with engineering, where they just sort of
That's a stark departure from what they've been doing.
where they release a patch or they release in like engineering where it's like it works, it's in the game, it's technically functional, and we'll balance it later. And I feel like that for whatever reason, and I think the reason is Squadron 42, is they seem to be wanting to do like everything that Chris mentioned in the letter from the chairman. They're in active development for and have talked about doing either tech previews or showed off gray box versions of them. So like they have these features, the inventory system, the crafting system, and of course the future engineering systems. All of those things have been in development. The only thing that he listed that wasn't in there was social tools. We only saw slideshows of the social tools 2 years ago, not even like actual social tools. So it's interesting that he mentioned that, because I think I'm hoping that the pressure from the community was getting to Chris, because I know I was screaming, we need fucking social tools. And I think everybody else who's ever done any content with larger people, even in org group, is like, we need fucking social tools. It would make this so much easier. So like I feel like what they're gonna probably do is they're gonna sprint the beginning of the year to try to get like crafting, engineering, new inventory system, social tools. They're probably gonna do their best to get it out before Invictus, and then fix it as they go into as they start to change direction towards the release of Squadron. And they know that they can't. They're gonna be pulling more and more people for that, like all hands on deck. Like we need to fix this. It's coming out at this time. We got to get people on to fix those. You know, the crunch time that will incur in the last half of the year. And so if they at least get them in and functional, and everything's not on fire on CIG's part by Invictus, then they're in a good position for a release of Squadron in the latter half of the year. That's me being optimistic though, because we all know CIG, and CIG is probably going to miss those dates. Like CIG being like, oh yeah, we're gonna get crafting, what was it, tech preview out before the end of the year. Didn't, but they still like, hey, but crafting, and it's like, yeah, they said the same thing about engineering last year, and it didn't come out until tech preview until the end of this year. So, like, I'm gonna keep historical information there and be like, it's probably not gonna happen. But I do see that's the direction CIG is going. So,
God, to steal a line from one of my favorite movies that we talked about last time I was on here, I hope you're right, Paul. I really do.
I hope I'm right too, and I'm going to be optimistic on that one. Say that's what I'm looking forward to with 2026. I think that's going to be good, because if they get those, I think, as you said, if they get social tools in, it would be the best year. If they got reputation and social tools in, I will forgive a lot of things that CIG could do next year if they got those two things in. Because
you hear that, CIG?
You will shut me up for a year if you get those two things in. If you manage to get those things and then something like more narrative gameplay, more like impactful narrative gameplay with actual stakes, I don't know. I'll buy you pizza. Like I don't know. I don't know what I'd go for that. There's nothing I can do. I would be happy. You wouldn't hear me.
You hear that,
anything.
Austin office? He's gonna buy you pizza.
Yes.
He's gonna buy you pizza.
Yeah, because like those are the things that I care about more than anything else. And of course, bugs and stuff like that happen. But you know, those things.
For gameplay.
Those things are important, I think. So. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there and then go into the question and answer session. A good 2 hours and 4 minutes. This is the end of the year wrap up, so it was going to go long no matter what we did. Just a little longer than I thought it was. We're going to go.
I wasn't even going to do the show, guys.
I wasn't going to do the show, and then
Yeah.
I was like, wait, people want to be on and hang out and talk, so let's do that. So, and then you all decided to shower me with 91 gift subs. So
Wow, that's great.
That's a
Oh my
solid fucking
God.
stream right there, man.
Not enough Astropub. Wait, 5 hours. No.
thank you.
I gotta
Thank you all for hanging out. We're going to take a few minutes to go to take a break and, use the restroom, grab something to eat, and that kind of stuff. When we'll be back, we'll be answering your questions live. So make sure you have a question, put an exclamation point, or not exclamation question, but just put question in brackets and ask your question, and the bot will take care of it. Make sure you check out Night Cobb on his channel or Armchair Admirals and Generals, or you can find him sometimes hanging out with us in lore. What? I'm telling you to go.
The people are going to show up at that channel. This happens every time I stream, and they're going to go to like my YouTube or Twitch link, and they're just going to find sadness and despair. You guys can sub if you want. I'm sorry.
Axis 0096.
Short
You can check that everywhere. Axis 096 on YouTube, Twitch, Kick. I don't know.
X, Rumble, and I think that's it.
You can also on Yahoo Answers, on Quora, on MySpace. You can find them all over the internet as Axis 0096. And then check out Griffin Gaming, Soul Citizens podcast, which is tomorrow, right? It's just not tomorrow.
We are off the next 2 weeks. We're back January the 11th, but
January
normally
11th.
Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern.
If
Yep,
you-
we're
if you-
back January 11th.
If you're looking, because I know a lot of folks go like, well, I need something so I can play in the background while I have to do my 3 hours at work between the holiday seasons. There's a huge repertoire of videos you can watch from the Soul Citizens from all over this year, talking about not just the content for this year, but I steal ideas from them, they steal ideas from me, we steal ideas from each other all the time because it's all cool. And I accidentally stole ideas because Night Cobb and I were like, hey, we should do a video Captain's Table on movies, and Fastcart and Griffin were like, hey, we did that already, and I was just like, what? Wait, what? So we brought them on to talk about it as well. So that's what friends and families do. Yeah. So go check them out. Go check them out. Go watch watch their content as well. And if you enjoyed this, make sure to catch us live, twitch.tv/theastropub, youtube.com/@the Captain's Table Podcast. We do these on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. We'd love to have you join us live and then ask your questions for our After Dark sections as well. And thank you for watching. And like I said every time, hope to see you someday in the black.